For divorced individuals pursuing Aliyah from the United Kingdom, the presentation of proper civil divorce documentation constitutes a fundamental requirement that demands meticulous attention to legal specificity and governmental authentication protocols. The Israeli immigration process requires comprehensive verification of marital history, necessitating precise documentation that definitively establishes both previous marital unions and their complete legal dissolution through recognized judicial processes. Israeli immigration authorities mandate the presentation of two distinct categories of documentation for divorced applicants, creating a comprehensive framework for verifying complete marital history. First, applicants must provide their original marriage certificate, which serves as essential evidence of the previously contracted union that established the legal relationship requiring subsequent dissolution. Notably, this marriage certificate does not require apostille authentication for divorce-related immigration purposes, representing one of the few exceptions to Israel's typically stringent international document authentication requirements. Second, and of paramount importance to the entire application process, divorced applicants must present their official divorce certificate with mandatory apostille certification. This document serves as definitive legal proof of marriage dissolution and confirms the applicant's current legal availability for potential remarriage under Israeli civil law. The divorce certificate represents the crucial documentation that transforms an applicant's legal status from married to single, enabling Israeli authorities to properly categorize their marital condition for immigration and citizenship purposes. The divorce decree represents a formal judicial pronouncement issued by competent court authority, confirming the complete legal dissolution of a marriage contract through established legal processes. This court-issued documentation provides Israeli immigration officials with authoritative verification that previous marital obligations have been properly and legally terminated through recognized judicial procedures that carry legal weight across international boundaries. The judicial nature of divorce documentation ensures that Israeli authorities can rely on the document's legitimacy and legal standing. Within the United Kingdom's legal framework, divorce proceedings involve a two-stage judicial process that creates distinct documentary outcomes. And understanding this distinction proves absolutely essential for proper documentation preparation. Israeli authorities accept only final divorce documentation, making the differentiation between preliminary and final judicial orders critical for successful immigration application processing. A decree nisi represents merely a preliminary court order indicating the court's preliminary satisfaction that grounds for divorce have been established under UK family law. This document does not constitute final legal dissolution of the marriage, and therefore fails to meet Israeli immigration requirements under any circumstances. The decree nisi serves only as an intermediate step in the UK divorce process, essentially providing notice of the court's intention to grant divorce while allowing a specified period for potential objections or reconciliation attempts. The decree absolute constitutes the final judicial order that definitively and legally terminates the marriage contract in all legal respects. Only upon issuance of the decree absolute does the marriage cease to exist in legal terms, rendering both parties legally single and available for remarriage under British law. Israeli immigration authorities recognize only the decree absolute as sufficient proof of divorce completion, and submission of decree nisi documentation will result in automatic application rejection regardless of other documentation quality. When original decree absolute documentation has been lost or destroyed, UK residents may pursue several official recovery channels through governmental and judicial systems that maintain permanent records of divorce proceedings. Form D440 provides the standard mechanism for requesting court searches for decree absolute or final order documentation. This official form enables applicants to request that the issuing court conduct comprehensive searches of their records to locate and provide certified copies of divorce documentation that carry the same legal weight as original documents. Alternatively, direct communication with the court that originally issued the decree absolute may yield replacement documentation through established court administrative procedures. Courts maintain permanent records of divorce proceedings and can provide certified copies upon proper application and verification of identity, though processing times may vary significantly based on court workload and record storage systems. UK Official Records maintains a secure online ordering system for official UK decree absolutes issued across England and Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. This service provides authenticated replacement documentation that meets international standards for legal recognition while offering convenient online access to essential divorce documentation for immigration purposes. Divorce certificate apostille authentication must be obtained through the FCDO Legalization Office, which serves as the sole authorized body for providing international document validation for UK-issued legal documents. No alternative service or governmental agency can provide acceptable apostille certification for Israeli immigration purposes, making the FCDO the exclusive source for this critical authentication process. The FCDO accepts two specific formats for apostille authentication of divorce documentation, each requiring different preparation procedures. Original decree absolute documents may be submitted directly for apostille certification, provided they maintain their original governmental seals and judicial signatures that verify their authenticity. Electronic decree absolute documentation, when produced as printouts from original PDF files, requires additional authentication steps that add complexity and time to the overall process. Such printouts must first receive certification from a qualified UK solicitor or notary public before submission to the FCDO for apostille processing, creating an additional layer of verification that ensures document authenticity. Israeli immigration authorities maintain strict requirements that civil marriage and divorce documentation cannot be substituted with religious equivalents under any circumstances, regardless of whether marriage or divorce proceedings included religious elements or received religious recognition. Only civil court documentation satisfies immigration requirements. This exclusivity reflects Israeli immigration law's emphasis on governmental rather than religious verification of legal status for immigration purposes. Applicants who have contracted multiple marriages during their lifetime must provide complete documentation for all previous marital relationships, creating potentially complex documentation requirements that extend beyond a single marriage and divorce. This comprehensive requirement includes divorce certificates for all dissolved marriages and death certificates for any marriages terminated by spousal death, ensuring that Israeli authorities possess complete information regarding an applicant's entire marital history. While marriage certificates do not require apostille authentication for divorce-related applications, divorce certificates absolutely require FCDO apostille certification without exception. Failure to provide properly authenticated divorce documentation will result in immediate application delays or outright rejections, regardless of the quality or completeness of other submitted documentation. The combined process of obtaining replacement divorce documentation and securing proper apostille authentication typically requires 4 to 6 weeks for completion under optimal circumstances. This timeline encompasses court processing for replacement documents, FCDO apostille processing, and potential delays due to documentation verification requirements that may extend processing beyond standard timeframes. Complex cases involving multiple jurisdictions or historical documentation may require significantly longer processing periods. Prospective immigrants should initiate divorce documentation procedures well in advance of their intended Aliyah timeline to accommodate potential processing delays and ensure document availability when required for application submission. The irreversible nature of immigration deadlines makes early documentation preparation essential for successful application completion within required timeframes. The decree absolute serves as definitive proof of legal availability for remarriage and confirms divorced status to Israeli authorities with absolute certainty. This documentation enables Israeli immigration officials to properly categorize applicant marital status and apply appropriate immigration benefits and obligations under Israeli family law. The legal standing provided by properly authenticated divorce documentation extends beyond immigration processing to encompass future legal rights and obligations within Israeli society. Proper preparation and authentication of divorce documentation represents a non-negotiable element of the Aliyah process for divorced applicants, requiring careful attention to legal specificity and governmental authentication protocols to ensure successful immigration application processing. The complexity of divorce documentation requirements, combined with strict authentication procedures and timeline constraints, emphasizes the critical importance of early preparation and professional guidance throughout the documentation process. The financial implications of divorce documentation authentication should be incorporated into overall immigration planning, as the combined costs of document replacement, professional certification, and apostille processing can accumulate substantially. Additionally, the potential need for multiple document replacements or extended processing times may increase costs beyond initial estimates, making comprehensive budget planning essential for successful immigration completion.